road to the 109th Grey Cup for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
The kick is up. The kick is good. Seth Small has done it. The Tiger Cats have won.
And be heard daily here on the Ticats Audio Network. This is Speaking with the Enemy on the Ticats Audio Network. Here is Louie Butko.
Yes, the show Speaking with the Enemy playoff edition. Playoffs, there's that word again, as the Ticats getting set for the Montreal Alouettes in Montreal. And to get us set for that game, we're very pleased to be joined by TSN 690, Sean Campbell. And Sean, the Alouettes have beaten the Ticats already this season a couple of times, and maybe a concussion spotter away from beating them a third time. But what's the confidence level of this Als group, do you get the sense of going into this game?
The Als are very confident heading into this game with the Ticats. I mean, they can't look past this past season. If they look to any playoff matchup in the last couple of decades, that confidence will disappear. But the confidence with this group, knowing that they're a different team that has faced the Ticats in the past before, they are very confident. They had a players-only meeting this week, and it wasn't because anything was wrong. The players-only meeting is like, we need to fix this. That wasn't the case. They were like, hey, we're gonna have a players-only meeting. Let's see what we want to do and what we want to accomplish. And the players came out of that with this whole new sense of understanding who they are and what they want to establish in these playoffs. The Alouettes have been one of those teams like Hamilton. You could even put Ottawa and Toronto in that mix in the East Division that have had some highs and some lows. But I do believe they are confident in their game against Hamilton this weekend.
Well, some of those lows, one of those lows in particular, was the dismissal of their head coach, who will be watching this game from Molson Percival Stadium, although from with different colors on. I mean, really, when you look at it has been a tale of two seasons. How did Danny Machocha get this team back on track following Kahari Jones's dismissal?
Yeah, so it's funny you say tale of two seasons. Danny Machocha the other day, he said it was a tale of 3 seasons. He said it was they got off to that 1-3 start, and then they had to make that decision. Sorry, I said it was Danny Machocha that said it. It was their president, Mario Cecchini. Mm-hmm. It was President Mario Cecchini. He says, in discussions with Danny, we say it's a tale of 3 seasons. So sorry, I just want to get that quote right because we chatted with Mario Cecchini on our show yesterday as we were covering practice under strict observations that we were not allowed to talk about the plays that they were practicing.
Good old closed practices this time of year, Yeah. Cover your eyes. I don't know what I'm watching. Yeah. I get you. I hear you.
Yeah. So he said it was the first 1-3 start and the difficult decision that they had to make around Kahari Jones. No one in this organization doesn't like Kahari. I think anybody who has come across with him in the Hamilton organization knows that this is a grade A human. This is a great guy. So that felt bad. Then they continued. And then they had another 1-3 stretch of games, and they sat in 2-6. As Machocha and Cecchini put it, that was the adjustment period, trying to establish new elements in offense, trying to establish new elements on defense because Baron Miles left, trying to get the discipline under wraps because they just kept costing themselves with penalties after penalties. And it wasn't like night and day the moment Machocha came over. It still took a couple of weeks. They sat at 2-6. And then they said in the last 10 games, they wanted to go 10-0, but the management and ownership was like, you need to go 7-3 to get to 900 here. This is important. And they did. They went 7-3. So then that last tail of the season is who they really think they are.
I'm part of this. I mean, I'm just thinking, you're talking about these tale of 3 seasons. And I guess that's the great thing about the CFL is that it started way back in May. And if I had told you back in May that Trevor Harris was going to be getting the start at quarterback, I mean, all the things that Trevor Harris went through this past offseason, coming back, having to answer those questions. How has he handled everything this season? And what have you learned about this guy who's been around the league for so long? But what have you learned from him, particularly in these last stretch of games?
The consistency. And it's unbelievable. You see, one is completion percentages at 70, 71. You look at every game. It's not like he has a game where he's at 50% and then another game that he's at 85%. And then it all evens out at 70%. No, every game he's at 70% completion percentage. He's not putting up 6 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns a game. No. And he will have the odd turnover. But he's a very good game manager. I think that there are times that he wants to work on his red zone, and that decision making. He wishes he sometimes had a little bit more time, or he could buy time a little bit with his legs. But he understands that he's at a different stage of his career. But he's taking control and he's taking that leadership role. And I think even as backup heading into the season, he had the right mentality. I thought Vernon Adams Jr. had the right mentality when he was the starter or the backup. Of course, all these guys want to run the show and be the guy. But I think that, as a starter or a backup coming into the season, Trevor Harris had the right mindset. And I think that's one of the reasons why they turned to him so early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, he is very familiar with the Ticats. He's seen them a lot. I was pointed out to us this week with 3 different teams. He has run into them in the East Division playoffs, including the Edmonton Elks a few years ago. Do you feel like he's maybe feeling the pressure and that, he does have that Grey Cup ring? He's a Grey Cup champion, but he hasn't done it as the guy. Do you think he's feeling the pressure going into this playoffs?
I think he'd like to, be the guy and make sure that he gets to that next level. But I don't know if he's actually feeling the pressure. I spoke with him after practice yesterday down on the field. I had a good, 5 minutes one-on-one, and he just looked focused and ready. He didn't look like a guy that was nervous and worried about the outcome of the game. He was telling me, he goes, look at the games that we played against Hamilton. This is going to go down to the wire. Yeah. And it seemed like a guy that was ready to have the ball in his hands to make the decision down at the line. And that, if you're nervous or you're feeling the pressure, you want the ball in someone else's hand. And he looked like he wanted to be the guy. And he knew that this was not going to be 2 quarters of perfect football and then sit back and watch the rest of the game. This was going to be 4 full quarters, and it will likely come down to the last play because that's what happens between Montreal and Hamilton. I really can't wait for this game.
Should be a great one. Player to watch, William Stanback for sure. Only 5 games during the regular season. What have you seen from him? He's looked awful this week at practice, hasn't he? Come on, tell me some good news from the Ticats perspective. He looks rusty, doesn't he?
Ticats, watch out. Okay, this guy, and here's the big thing. Okay, I understand he got hurt in the first game of the season, and then he had all this time off, and he's come back. The Alouettes have slow played this. They really, really have. Since he's come back, they play 3 running backs. They've limited his touches when he played those 2 games against Ottawa to about 10 touches a game. And then he got more in the 3rd game, and he only played half the game last week against Toronto just to keep him fresh. But every single game, don't look at the yards. Don't just look at the yards and say every single game, there's another gear on this guy. This guy does not have 3 months of a CFL grind of the season on his back. He is a guy that's about to hit his stride, and he had big expectations this year. He wanted 2,000 yards. He wanted to be the most outstanding player. That was taken away from him. He wants something else, and that's the Grey Cup right now. So I'd be very careful about what Will Stanback's going to do this weekend.
Well, never underestimate the a running back who has missed games. I go back to, obviously not a great comparison, but Andrew Harris had to sit out a few games back in 2019. And we all know what he did to the Ticats that season in the postseason, including the Grey Cup. Eugene Lewis, obviously, he has the Ticats number. It seems like every single time, even last game, he didn't put up a lot of yards, but he did finish with 2 touchdowns, and he comes up clutch for this team. Those 3rd down conversions in the 4th quarter. If the Ticats shut him down, what's the rest of the receiving? I know they're not going to shut him down, but if they do slow him down, what's the rest of the receiving game look like this week?
Yeah, so there's the big factor that could be. I understand that in the trenches, can the Owls stop the pass rush of the Hamilton? Can Will Stanback find his groove? Will Trevor Harris not have any turnovers? But to me, it's the decisions that Hamilton's going to be making defensively around Eugene Lewis. Any play that he's in one-on-one coverage, I expect the ball to go to him. I really do. And I expect Hamilton, for the most part, to double up on Eugene Lewis. That puts pressure on the rest of the receiving core, like you said. They lost Reggie White Jr., their number 2 receiver, a couple weeks ago. And the rookie Tyson Philpott is filling in. Dynamic, yes, but brand new position late in the season, brand new responsibilities. But over the last 2 to 3 weeks, Jake Wieneke is starting to look like Jake Wieneke of last year, where he was one of the top guys in receptions, top guys in touchdowns. He was not the same Jake Wieneke to start things off. He had a hamstring injury. It slowed him up. They turned to Reggie White Jr. a little bit more than they turned to Jake Wieneke. But there has been a progress on those second downs and 8, those second downs and 10. Jake Wieneke is coming up with big catches. He has limited amount of catches this year, but it seems like every catch he makes is important. And he had a 100-yard game the other couple of weeks ago. This is a player that I think could have a big impact on this game because of the double team I think the Owls are expecting on Eugene Lewis.
Montreal's always such a tough place to play. We hear that from guys all the time here in Hamilton. In the playoffs, it's been a while. What does it mean for this city to host a home playoff game? It's not the East Final, but it's still a home playoff game. What does it mean? And what are you expecting out of that crowd come Sunday?
Yeah, I think it means a lot to the organization. They, the gate revenue lost season. This is an organization with owner question marks, if you want to put it that way. And making money with a football team in the CFL in Montreal is not something that's very easy. So for the organization, it is huge. Already over 20,000, expecting a sellout, just a couple thousand away from getting that sellout. There's no doubt in my mind that that's going to happen. The last few crowds have been amazing, and the games, win or lose for the Owls, have been close. And that's what brings people back, is that they're bringing an entertaining style of football. And these Owls fans, when they come out in numbers, Montreal knows how to put on a show, knows how to support their team. It's a small stadium. It's quaint. It's tightly packed. And it's supposed to be, it might rain, but the weather's supposed to be real nice. I have not, I've gone to every single Owls game this year, and this is home or away. Ooh, there has not been one bad weather game. We're in November, and I was out in a t-shirt on the field at practice yesterday. So that's the kind of atmosphere that puts people in a good mood. I'm expecting a great crowd on Sunday.
Yeah, it should be absolutely fantastic. And I mean, maybe with the Canadians where they are right now, is this an opportunity for, Montreal, for the Alouettes to really be the team right now? I mean, I feel like a deep playoff run would go a long way for this organization in that city.
I think about that all the time. I always say in the months of July and August, the Alouettes and CF Montreal, that's your window. Maybe even a bit in September. If you go on a bit of a run, and August and September, before the Canadians take all the news cycles away, that is your chance. But, the one thing that Montrealers will do, they will come out for winners. The CF Montreal finished second in their conference, and down the stretch, every single game, besides one horrendous weather game, was sold out at Saputo Stadium. Down the stretch as the Owls started to win, and you look at the numbers attendance-wise, they were at 13, 14, 15 when they were at 2-6. They started winning. They went 7 wins and 3 down the stretch in their last 10. You're getting 19, 20, 21,000 every game. Montreal will come out if you win. This is a big, big selling point for the organization this weekend. And getting a win at home would do a lot of good heading towards next season's, ticket sales for season tickets and bringing people back.
Well, Sean, this show is called Speaking with the Enemy. So unfortunately, I'm not sure if you're going to have a lot of people nodding their head in agreement with you on that last one, but I appreciate that you made the point. That's what we bring you on here for.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoy coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're a busy man. You got Laval trying to get back on the a winning note. A tough loss to the Marlies. How do you see them shaking back out this weekend?
Yeah, they got the Marlies and Lehigh Valley back to back, so it's going to be tough for them. They got to figure out some way, somehow to just find a little consistency out there. Maybe they were hoping to get Hamilton's own Arbor Jack guy back in Laval, but that doesn't seem the case. He's just running the show out in Montreal.
Took my last question right. How much is Montreal loving this guy? Wi-Fi. They loved him here, and he was only here in Hamilton for a little bit. Obviously, was traded, but a Hamilton boy. I get the sense he's already a fan favorite there.
Oh, it's just you just once, and everybody. I kind of laugh this, right? You know how social media is. Fighting should be banned. You shouldn't do it anymore. One fight with Matt Cashin, the place explodes and say, "This is the kind of guy that the Canadians need." And not that it's the only thing he does is fighting, but he was on the second power play unit the other day. He's doing a lot of good things for the Canadians. So yeah, he's a fan favorite, and Habs fans will be upset if he ever showed up in Laval. But I'd be happy to see him for a game or two. But I mean, not for his sake, but that would be for my sake.
Well, I know minority Canadiens owner Michael Anlau are happy to see him in the red and white. We are too. Sean, I know you're a busy man, so thank you so much for making the time this afternoon. Thank you.
No problem, man.
My thanks to Sean Campbell for joining me today. He's the play-by-play voice of the Montreal Alouettes on TSN 690, and my thanks to you as well. Speaking with the Enemy is brought to you by Red Tag. There's nothing like a holiday escape with redtag.ca, and this year spaces are limited, so make sure to book in advance to secure your spot on the beach now and be married later. See the world your way with redtag.ca. Catch a brand new episode of Speaking with the Enemy as part of Tiger Cats pregame at 12 o'clock on Sunday with Bubba O'Neill and Andy Fantews. And for all your Ticats audio network needs, just go to listen.ticats.ca. I'm Louie Butko. Hope you have a great day.
The Ticats begin the playoffs.
Hopefully you'll see us again coming down King or Main Street when it really counts.
And you'll hear it all here on the Ticats Audio Network.